Conscious Hour with T. I'm your host, Miss T. Let's get right into it, friends. We're gonna talk about Miss Megan the Stallion, okay? And this has been all over social media, everywhere. And as if you don't know, a couple years ago, um, Megan the Stallion accused Tory Lanez of shooting her in her foot, right? And so 2.5 years later, here we are. Then we finally made it to court. Okay. Assault case. If convicted, he faces more than 22 years in prison. All right. All right. Okay. So superstar rapper Megan the Stallion said fellow hip hop artist Tory Lanez ordered her to dance before he shot her foot in 2020 after a party in the Hollywood Hills. Megan the Stallion, 27, whose real name is Megan Jovan Ruth Pete, testified Tuesday, the second day of Lane's assault trial. Wow. Woo, Megan, that's a long name. I didn't know Megan's name was this long. Okay, moving on. Okay, the Savage rapper testified she felt shocked and hurt and saw blood on her feet after Lanes shot her following a party at Kylie Jenner's home. City News Service reported. Okay, all right. So just to give you a little bit of the details that happened, um, so Megan Thee Stallion told jurors that just after she was shot, Lanes offered her $1 million to keep quiet. Let's keep going, okay? She testified that the 30-year-old performer, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, that's his name? What's going on with these names? Made the offer because he was on probation, according to CNS. She said she got back into the vehicle with Lanes and two others because she was wearing a thong bikini and felt like her manager would know what to do if she could contact him. She also testified she didn't know Lanes had a gun that night. The news service reported. Megan Thee Stallion said the vehicle was stopped by the police and all of the occupants were ordered out. She said she told police she had injured her foot on glass when officers asked why she was bleeding, according to the news agency. Okay, I remember when this story broke out. I remember this. And if you don't remember, let me remind you of more details besides what's in this article. Okay, remember when she first came out? She really didn't really point fingers at who shot her, and we all were speculating, like, why wouldn't she tell, say who did it, you know? And that's the first thing, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, why would we not know the difference between a shot and a cut? Okay? Why wouldn't that be like, come on now? But nevertheless, and then the third thing, when she said that she didn't really come out and tell that Tory had shot her, right? Um my thing was the reason, and the reason was, remember she was in an interview, can't think of the person's name she was in an interview with, but she stated like she was scared and she was crying, and a lot of people didn't believe her, right? They didn't believe anything she had to say, okay? Because she came back later, because basically it was inconsistent. First it happened, and then you didn't come out and tell us. Then you came out and said, okay, Tori did it later. So people kind of gave her the side eye. Let's be clear, I do like Megan the Stallion. I don't know about all the anyway. I do like Megan the Stallion. The young lady's trying to make her coins. But as far as her and Tory Lanez, it's a whole thing. And not only that, let's get into the other. There's a rumor, hearsay, allegedly, okay, that she was with, okay, there was another woman in the limo, okay, and that they were having some type of something. All right, I'll let you figure all that out. Read between the lines. But nevertheless, there was a whole thing. Like this, there's so many rumors, but that's a whole thing. But let's get into a little bit more, okay? And then she said she told jurors that she was taken by ambulance to Cedar Sinai, Sinai Medical Center, and that doctors discovered bullet fragments in her feet, which required surgery to remove. All right, all right. I couldn't walk for a while, she said. I still have nerve damage. I can't really feel the side of my left foot. The back of my feet are always sore, but I just push through it. Megan Thee Stallion said in July 2020 that she was recovering from being shot, and in a statement on Instagram said she wanted to set the record straight about her injuries. All right. This is what she said on Instagram. She wrote that she was injured in a crime that was done with the intention to physically harm me. All right. I was never arrested. The police officers drove me to the hospital where I underwent surgery to remove the bullet, she said. I'm incredibly grateful to be alive and I'm expected to make a full recovery, but it was important to me to clarify the details about the traumatic night. Los Angeles police initially in Lanes was arrested on charge of having concealed weapon in a vehicle, and they did not have information about Megan Thee Stallion's claims of having been shot. In October 2020, Lanes was charged with assaulting a female friend. Mm-hmm. Lanes was charged with assault with a semi-automatic firearm and carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle. The Los Angeles County District Attorney Office said the charge stemmed from an incident in the Hollywood Hills on July 12, 2020, the DA's office said in the statement. Lanes has pleaded not guilty, and if convicted, Lanes faces more than 22 years in prison. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing, the article, but you definitely can check it out in its entirety. But, Lane's response, he's confident, right? Um, so his attorney spoke on his behalf, basically saying, well, I'll read a little bit more. Lane's response, his attorney spoke on his behalf, saying, it's been 2.5 years. Almost, Mr. Peterson has patiently waited for his day for trial. And here we are. I believe once everybody's heard parts and pieces of the case, once the whole case comes about, I think we're confident the jury will find my client not guilty, excuse me, and he'll be exonerated of all the charges. This is what his attorney said. Okay. The third count was a lesser count, so clearly I think that the people see the weaknesses in their case and they're concerned that the first count, which is the assault, is an intentional act of count three is a negligent discharge, okay, which is an accidental negligent discharge. Okay, all right. So it's not an intentional act. Clearly, I think that the people have added this because they're afraid they may lose count one. Police say they arrived at the Hollywood Hills residence where gunshots were heard before SUV left. Megan Thee Stallion's foot seemed to have been cut by broken glass in the SUV. Often officers found the vehicle where a gun will also be found. Whew, there's so much, and I'm not going to keep going. But I have already touched on some of the things already they're coming up with, like, for example. Okay, a couple pieces I missed. First of all, they weren't in a limo, my bad. They were actually in an SUV. Secondly, the evidence is at the actual, the main evidence in the case is that the prosecutors are focused on a text message that they say Miss Harris sent to Mr. Lane's bodyguard that night, writing "Help" and Tory shot Meg. And then also, they're also focused on the fact that Tory sent a message to Megan, right? Megan Thee Stallion, after the shooting, and said that he apologized to Megan, right? And so, but of course, the defense has countered that Mr. Lane did not directly admit to carrying out the shooting, okay? And that's according to Los Angeles Times. Nevertheless, I wanted to share that tidbit. I thought that was important information. Okay, back to the regular commentary. Thank you. stepped on the glass, she said. For some reason, I just was trying to protect us because I didn't want them to kill us. Even though the person just did this to me, my first reaction still was to try to save us. I didn't want to see anyone die. And that's the gist of the article. It's actually kind of pitiful. But you know what? Here's the thing. It's kind of hard. The biggest problem is that her story, Megan's story, was inconsistent. I'm not saying Megan wasn't shot. Obviously, she was shot. It's clearly she was shot. The medical record says she was shot. But, I'm not saying Tori didn't even shoot her. But it may be an issue because she came back and changed her story, right? Her story was inconsistent. She sat down with Gail King and said, hey, this, that, and the third. And she was scared of law enforcement. Now, some may say, why would she be scared of law enforcement? But depending on where you live and what's going on around you and who you are, something might, you never know. We would hope that law enforcement is on our side. We hope that all law enforcement is on our side. But in this case, I don't know. So what did you think about it? Do you think that Megan really thought that she was protecting them from the law enforcement, or do you think she was thinking about just protecting Tory in general? Okay, because it was an accident and they were doing some craziness. Because I'm not minimizing Megan Thee Stallion's pain and injuries and all of that. But I'm sure they were partying and drinking, so it could have just kind of been an accident. But I mean, come on, if he did shoot her in the foot, my goodness. So what do you think about that? Do you think it was an accident? And I guess even if it wasn't, he still needs to do something. He needs to be accountable, held accountable, right? Right. Now, let me know what you think about it in the content. Right now, that's where we are. I don't see where he's actually been found guilty, so the trial that's the only update I have now. As I get him, I will definitely let you know where we are. Let me know what you think about this whole thing. Do you think Tory Lanez is guilty or no? Okay? And do you think that Megan Thee Stallion is telling the truth or no? Let me know what you think. Thank you. Nevertheless, I appreciate you listening. Also, thank you for all those who are liking my videos, listening to my videos, subscribing, and sharing. I do appreciate you so much. We're on the road, we're growing, and I appreciate you. Please know that. As I always say, we can't change anyone else, only can change yourself. Focus on the things that you can control and not on the things you can't. I'll be back with another one. Thank you. Bye.